Welcome back, vampire hunters, to another dose of Daywalker Deep Dives. In our last video, we uncovered some seriously juicy facts about Blade. But trust us, we've got even more on this half-human, half-vampire badass. So get ready to be amazed, because in this video, we're diving even deeper into the world of Blade with even more mind-blowing trivia. But before we begin, a quick reminder that this video will contain major spoilers. Arlie Jover is credited in the film as Mercury, yet her character's name is never mentioned throughout the movie. Despite her limited acting experience, Jover, who was primarily a model, was cast by director Stephen Norrington as he believed she possessed the right blend of allure and presence needed for the role. A significant line of dialogue was removed from the script, which would have had Blade recalling his birth, stating he remembers literally being cut from his mother's womb. This line was intended to highlight Blade's traumatic origin story and the obvious beginning of his hatred for vampires. This film shares a surprising number of similarities with The Matrix. Both movies feature protagonists who discover that their perceived reality is a facade, controlled by an unseen force. In Blade, this force is the Vampire Society, while in The Matrix, it is the artificial intelligence controlling the simulated reality. Each film also includes a small, underground group of fighters resisting these oppressors. The protagonists, Blade and Neo, are both iconic for their long trench coats and their heavy reliance on martial arts and combat scenes. Notably, the hostage scene in Blade even features a bullet-dodging moment similar to The Matrix' famous bullet time scenes. Despite these striking similarities, they are purely coincidental, as Blade was released a year before The Matrix, and the latter had already been written, planned, and storyboarded long before Blade's release. At one point during the development of Blade, New Line Cinema allegedly considered steering the film towards an action comedy horror genre. This would have significantly altered the tone and style of the movie, potentially undermining its dark, gritty atmosphere. However, screenwriter David Goyer convinced New Line to abandon this idea. Goyer's vision for Blade was more serious and intense, focusing on the character's complex backstory and the darker elements of the vampire underworld. His successful persuasion ensured that the film retained its serious tone, which ultimately contributed to its success and enduring popularity as a cult classic in the superhero and vampire genres. Blade is famously known among vampires as the Daywalker due to his unique ability to withstand sunlight, a trait that sets him apart from other vampires. In the Spanish dub of the film, this nickname was translated to El que ha visto el sol, which means he who has seen the sun. This movie played a pivotal role in sparking the boom of Marvel Comics-based movies. While it was later overshadowed by the more commercially successful X-Men and Spider-Man, Blade was the first Marvel movie to achieve both financial and critical success. Although Men in Black was released earlier, it was more a property acquired by Marvel rather than a Marvel creation. The success of Blade demonstrated that Marvel characters could successfully headline their own movies, paving the way for future adaptations. Interestingly, Blade was not a widely known character before the film's release. Yet the movie's success proved that even lesser-known characters could become successful properties. This success encouraged both Marvel and DC to explore films featuring other lesser-known characters. Despite the genre setback caused by Batman and Robin, Blade showed that comic book movies still had potential. Many viewers were likely unaware that Blade was originally a comic book character, seeing him instead as a cool vampire hunter, especially with the popularity of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Additionally, Blade's first animated appearance in Spider-Man, the animated series, helped generate interest among cartoon audiences. But despite its phenomenal success, Marvel only made $25,000 from the film. During the iconic club scene, there's a moment where Blade spins and leaps onto a ledge. This move proved to be quite challenging to execute. Despite multiple attempts, nearly 10 takes, Wesley Snipes struggled to stick the landing, as his body would bounce off the wall, causing him to miss the thin ledge. To overcome this difficulty, the filmmakers decided to use Snipes' stunt double, who successfully completed the move. Tracy Lords joined the cast of Blade later in the production process, but her impact was immediate and profound. The filmmakers described her casting as an epiphany, recognizing that she was perfectly suited for the role. Lourdes brought the right mix of arrogance and sex appeal, which was crucial for setting the tone of the film's dark, seductive world. Her boyfriend at the time played the large guard at the entrance to the rave. During the early development of the film, both Richard Roundtree and LL Cool J were considered for the role of Blade. Richard Roundtree, who was famous for his role as Shaft, was initially attached to play Blade when the project was envisioned as a Mexico-set Western. LL Cool J also showed interest in the role around 1992. Interestingly, Richard later joined the Blade universe by playing Blade's father in Blade the Series, 2006. In the expansive Marvel multiverse, the Blade film series, including Blade, Blade 2, Blade Trinity, and Blade the Series, are all set in the alternate reality known as Earth 26320. This classification places the Blade narrative within a specific universe distinct from the primary Marvel universe, Earth 616. By situating these stories in Earth 26320, Marvel allows for creative freedom and continuity within the Blade franchise, while also acknowledging its unique place within the broader Marvel multiverse. This designation helps fans understand the context and connections between different Marvel properties, enriching the overall lore and providing a framework for the diverse stories told across various media. Originally, the character of Deacon Frost in the Blade series was envisioned as an elderly German mad scientist from the mid-19th century, obsessed with discovering the secret to immortality. His quest led him to kidnap people and use them as test subjects for a vampire serum. In one such incident, he kidnapped a woman, but her fiancé intervened, and during the ensuing struggle, the fiancé accidentally injected himself with the serum, transforming into one of the undead. However, in the movie adaptation, Deacon Frost was reimagined as a much younger character. This change added a modern and dynamic edge to the villain, making him a more fitting adversary for Blade. Both Blade and Deacon Frost made their first appearances in Marvel Comics' The Tomb of Dracula, with Blade debuting in issue number 10 and Deacon Frost in issue number 13. Following the success of Blade, director Stephen Norrington found himself in high demand within Hollywood. He was approached to helm several high-profile projects, including Ghost Rider 2007, Clash of the Titans 2010, The Hands of Shang-Chi, a live-action remake of the anime classic Akira 1988, and a reboot of The Crow 1994. Despite the initial interest, these projects ultimately fell through or were assigned to other directors. Norrington's involvement in these potential films highlights the industry's recognition of his talent and the impact of Blade on his career. However, the shifting nature of film production meant that these opportunities did not come to fruition under his direction, leaving fans to wonder what his unique vision might have brought to these iconic stories. The initial cut of Blade was 140 minutes long and received a disastrous response during test screenings. This negative feedback prompted the filmmakers to undertake extensive edits and reshoots, delaying the film's release by more than 6 months. One of the most significant changes made during this process was the addition of the final sword fight between Blade and Deacon Frost, which was not part of the original version. There's a memorable scene around the 45-minute mark where a bed opens up to reveal Vanessa, Blade's mother. Interestingly, the sound effect used for this moment was lifted directly from the 1986 sci-fi classic Aliens. Specifically, it is the same sound heard when Ripley wakes up on the Sulaco. The ending of Blade underwent numerous revisions before ultimately returning to the vision David Goyer had in his initial draft. One proposed ending involved the vampire's contraption successfully triggering a vampire apocalypse, leading to their domination of the planet. This scenario would have set up a sequel with a Mad Max-like tone, where Blade and other survivors battle vampires across a desolate, apocalyptic wasteland. Another ending featured Deacon Frost transforming into La Magra and becoming a large, swirling mass of blood rather than retaining his humanoid form. However, this concept was scrapped after test audiences reacted negatively, losing interest once Stephen Dorff's character turned into a faceless gelatinous blob. Additionally, the special effects crew struggled to make the visual effects look convincing. As a result, the filmmakers decided to reshoot the scene, keeping Dorff in his human form for the final battle. In an earlier draft of the movie, Blade originally killed Whistler. However, in the final version of the film, Whistler's fate is left ambiguous. One alternate ending even depicted Whistler as the vampire in Moscow, attempting to kill a woman before being interrupted by Blade. This scene was ultimately changed, leaving Whistler's storyline open-ended and adding a layer of mystery to his character. In the original Marvel Comics, Blade's mother, Tara Brooks, was a prostitute who met a tragic end at the hands of Deacon Frost during the birth of her son, Eric Brooks, who would later become Blade. Unlike the film adaptation, where Blade's mother is turned into a vampire and becomes a significant part of the storyline, the comic version of Tara Brooks never becomes a vampire. Her death at the hands of Frost is a pivotal moment that shapes Blade's life and fuels his relentless quest for vengeance against vampires. There's a scene around the 46-minute mark where Officer Krieger is killed by Deacon Frost. During this moment, the television in the background is playing another New Line Cinema movie, Mortal Kombat, 1995. Blade was released during the late cycle of vampire films in the 1990s, a decade that saw a resurgence of interest in vampire-themed movies. This period included notable films such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Innocent Blood, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Interview with the Vampire Chronicles, From Dusk Till Dawn, The Night Flyer, Vampire in Brooklyn, and Vampires. During the takes, Wesley Snipes couldn't stop laughing at the scene where Blade attempts to help a dying Whistler by wiping his heavily bloodied body with a small piece of gauze. In the climactic final fight scene, we see Blade attack Frost, only for Frost to brush off the effort before exclaiming, "My turn," and retaliating. This moment bears a striking resemblance and is most likely based on or in homage to a fight scene in the vampire classic The Lost Boys, where the same happens between the hero and vampire villain. My turn. Additionally, the vampire makeup effects for both movies were made by Greg Kinnear. In the Blade trilogy, the depiction of vampires diverges from traditional supernatural lore, grounding their characteristics in a more science fiction-based explanation. Early in the series, it is established that vampires do not react to religious icons like the crucifix, can cross running water without difficulty, and can enter homes without an invitation. Their vulnerabilities to garlic and sunlight are attributed to specific biological intolerances or allergies, and their need for foreign blood is explained by a hemoglobin deficiency 1. This scientific approach redefines the vampire mythos, presenting them as biologically altered beings rather than purely supernatural entities. However, the trilogy does retain elements of mysticism, particularly through Deacon Frost's plan to transform into La Magra, a deity-like figure, using an ancient ritual. Despite this magical aspect, the fact that La Magra can be defeated with an anti-vampire serum indicates that the monster is largely biological. And that's a wrap on our Blade fun facts. We hope you have enjoyed the interesting Easter eggs and hidden details we shared today, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more awesome content. Stay tuned for more movie deep dives. Until next time, stay sharp and peace out.